The Galactic Council's emergency medical response team had seen some truly baffling cases in their 300 years of operation. There was the incident with the Vorplaxians, who'd somehow managed to quantum entangle their own intestines. The Great Xanthrop Plague of 2247, where an entire species temporarily forgot how to breathe manually. Even that mess with the Keltorians, who'd accidentally evolved themselves into a corner and needed a firmware update. But nothing. And Medical Director Zakar would stake his 17 medical degrees on this. Nothing had prepared them for humanity. "Run that by me again," Zakar said. All 4 of his eye stalks focused on the human male sitting on the examination platform. Slowly. The human, who'd introduced himself as Connor Walsh, grinned. It was that peculiar human expression that could mean anything from genuine joy to impending violence, and the translation software still hadn't figured out which was which in any given situation. "I said we drink ethanol," Connor repeated, speaking slowly as if Zakar were the one with a compromised nervous system. "You know, booze, alcohol, the good stuff, fermented grains, fruits, vegetables, whatever. We've been doing it for like 10,000 years, give or take." Zakar felt a migraine developing in his tertiary brainstem. Ethanol, the universal solvent, the compound that literally breaks down cellular structures. Yeah, that's the one. The substance that's classified as a Class 7 hazardous toxin in 94% of known biological systems. Sounds right. The chemical that causes catastrophic organ failure in every tested species. Connor shrugged. "I mean, it's not great for us either, but it's fun." Dr. Vexith, the team's neurological specialist, had actually backed away from the examination platform. Her translucent skin had taken on a greenish tinge that definitely wasn't healthy for her species. "Define fun," Zakar said carefully. "You know, relaxing. Social lubrication. Makes people less awkward at parties. Sometimes you get silly, sometimes you get philosophical, sometimes you just want to sing very loudly. Depends on the person and how much they drink." "How much?" "Well, yeah. I mean, nobody stops at 1 beer usually." Zakar pulled up the file they'd compiled on humanity. It was already 3 times longer than any other species' medical profile, and humans had only been part of the Galactic Council for 8 months. 8 months! Most species took decades to generate this much concerning data. "Mr. Walsh," he began, using the formal address because he needed the emotional distance. "Are you telling me that humans voluntarily consume a substance that your own medical texts describe as hepatotoxic, neurotoxic, and carcinogenic?" "Well, when you say it like that, it sounds bad." "Because it is bad!" Connor held up his hands defensively. Okay, look, I get that it seems weird. Weird is the Plaxorians who secrete euphoric compounds when they hear poetry. This is suicidal. But it's really not that big a deal. We've built up a tolerance over evolutionary timescales. Our livers can process it. Mostly. Usually. Zakar wanted to scream, which would have been unprofessional, but also would have felt amazing right now. "Do you understand that ethanol consumption is literally used as a humane euthanasia method for 14 different species?" "Huh." Connor looked genuinely thoughtful. "That's actually pretty dark." Yes, it is dark, Mr. Walsh. Because it is poison." "Sure, technically, but water's poison if you drink too much of it." Zakar's primary eye stalk twitched. "That is not the same thing, and you know it." The human just smiled that infuriating smile again. Dr. Vexith finally found her voice. "Excuse me, but I need clarification. When you say humans have been doing this for 10,000 years, you mean a small subset of the population? Perhaps a fringe group? Religious practitioners?" "Nah, pretty much everybody," Connor said cheerfully. "I mean, not kids. Usually. Different cultures have different rules about when you can start. But yeah, it's super common. Some cultures built their entire social structures around it. Around poison consumption. We prefer to call it social drinking." "That does not make it better," Zakar was definitely shouting now. Professionalism be damned. Connor seemed unbothered. Look, Doc, I'm not sure what the big deal is. You guys asked for a comprehensive medical history. Alcohol consumption is part of that. Would you have preferred I lie? I would have preferred, Jakar said with great restraint, to live in a universe where this conversation wasn't necessary. The human leaned back on the examination platform, looking entirely too comfortable for someone who just admitted to recreational poison consumption. Okay, let me put this in perspective. What do your people do for fun? How do you relax after a long day? Zakar blinked all four eyes in sequence, which was the Vorthian equivalent of taking a deep breath. We engage in meditative exercises. Some enjoy harmonic resonance sessions. Others prefer intellectual pursuits. Right. Sounds nice. We do that stuff too. But sometimes, and hear me out here, sometimes we just want to feel a little buzzed, you know? Loosen up. Not think so hard about stuff. By poisoning your brain. By temporarily altering our neurochemistry in a controlled and socially acceptable manner. Connor corrected. Those are the same thing. Agree to disagree. Dr. Vexith was frantically pulling up something on her datapad. Wait. I'm seeing references in the Human Cultural Database to something called parties. Am I understanding correctly that these are organized gatherings where groups of humans collectively poison themselves? I mean, that's reductive, but sure. And there are establishments, she continued, her voice rising with each word. Entire commercial establishments called bars, where the sole purpose is to distribute these toxins? For profit? Oh yeah, bars are great. Some of them have themes. Like, there's this place back on Earth, New Dublin Station, that's done up like an old Irish pub. They play ancient music and everything. Super authentic. Zakar felt like his brain was melting, which was ironic, considering what they were discussing. You have themed poison distribution centers. When you put it like that, how else should I put it? Connor scratched his head. Look, I get that this is a shock, but humans are kind of built different, you know? We do a lot of stuff that would kill most species. We eat capsaicin for fun, even though it's literally a plant defense mechanism meant to deter mammals. We jump out of perfectly good aircraft with nothing but a sheet of fabric to slow our fall. Some of us climb mountains where the air is so thin you can barely breathe, just because they're there. We're weird. We know we're weird. Capsaicin? Dr. Vexith's skin was now fully green. The neurotoxin? It makes food spicy. It's delicious. Why? I don't know. It just is. Look, I didn't design human biology. I just live here. Zakar pulled up another file. Then another. The pattern was becoming clear, and he hated it. Caffeine. You also consume caffeine regularly. Well, yeah. How else are we supposed to wake up in the morning? By being naturally alert? Having healthy sleep cycles? Connor laughed. Oh man, you'd hate earthwork culture. I already hate earthwork culture, and I've never experienced it. Zakar scrolled through more data. Theobromine, another toxin. You derive it from plants and turn it into chocolate. Okay, but chocolate is amazing, so... It causes fatal arrhythmia in 17 known species. Yeah, but it tastes great, so there's trade-offs. That is not a trade-off. The door to the medical bay slid open, and in walked another human. This one was female, older, wearing the insignia of a diplomatic corps officer. She took one look at the scene, Connor lounging on the exam platform, two traumatized doctors trying to process impossible information, and sighed. Connor, what did you do? I didn't do anything. They asked about my medical history. And you told them about drinking. They asked. The woman turned to Zakar with an expression of weary patience. I'm Ambassador Kowalski. I apologize for any distress. We probably should have briefed your medical team before the examinations began. Briefed us? Zakar's voice came out slightly strangled. Ambassador, your species drinks industrial solvents for recreational purposes. Well, industrial solvent is a bit harsh. It is the technical classification. Kowalski held up her hands. Okay, yes. We drink alcohol. We have been since before recorded history. It's part of our culture. Multiple cultures, actually. Humans have independently invented alcohol production in virtually every region of Earth. Sometimes multiple times. How are you not extinct? Robust livers, mostly. And we did go extinct a few times, but not from drinking. She said it so casually, like multiple extinction-level events were just a minor inconvenience. Look, I know this seems strange. Strange? Ambassador, this is... Jakar stopped himself. Getting emotional wouldn't help. He was a professional. He'd dealt with bizarre alien biology before. He could handle this. Probably. Walk me through the biological mechanism. How does humanity survive this? Kowalski glanced at Connor. You want to take this, or should I? You're better at the science stuff. She turned back to the medical team. Humans produce an enzyme called alcohol dehydrogenase. It breaks ethanol down into acetaldehyde, and then another enzyme converts that into acetic acid, which is harmless. We can metabolize it. At what rate? Zakar asked. Roughly 1 standard drink per hour, give or take, depending on body mass and genetics. And if you consume more than that? Then you get drunk. Connor chimed in helpfully. Which is kind of the point. So you deliberately overwhelm your metabolic systems. Yeah. Why? Connor and Kowalski exchanged looks. Finally, Connor said, because it feels good? Zakar wanted to cry. He wasn't sure Vorthians could cry, but he wanted to try. Dr. Vexith had pulled up more data. I'm seeing references to something called a hangover. Is this the toxic aftermath of alcohol consumption? Oh yeah, Connor said. Those suck. Headache, nausea, everything hurts. Your body's basically screaming at you for being an idiot. And yet you do it again. Well, yeah. Can't let one bad morning ruin all future fun. That is not logical. Nobody said it was logical. It's fun. Ambassador Kowalski stepped in before the doctors could have collective aneurysms. Gentleman lady, I'm sorry, I don't know your species' gender conventions. We're hermaphroditic, Dr. Vexith muttered. Right? Well, everyone, I understand this is concerning. But humans have been consuming alcohol for our entire recorded history, and most of our unrecorded history. It's woven into our social fabric. We make toasts at weddings. We celebrate achievements. We commiserate losses. Yes, it's technically a toxin. Yes, excessive consumption is harmful. But in moderation, it's a part of who we are. Moderation, Jakar repeated. Define moderation in this context. Depends on who you ask, Connor said. Medical professionals say 1 or 2 drinks a day max. College students think moderation is still being able to walk. Those are not the same thing! Yeah, college kids are idiots. But they figure it out eventually. Zakar pulled up another file, because apparently his day wasn't horrifying enough yet. I'm seeing reports from the human delegation's arrival party last month. 7 people required medical attention for alcohol poisoning. How is this moderation? Kowalski winced. That was unfortunate. Some crew members got a little too enthusiastic about celebrating our arrival. In their defense, they'd been in cryosleep for 6 months. So the appropriate response to extended stasis is to poison oneself? I mean, when you say it like that, Connor sat up straighter. Can I ask you guys something? What do your people do when something really good happens? Like, really exciting? How do you celebrate? Shakar considered this. We share in collective joy. Express gratitude to the universe. Perhaps compose poetry about the event. That's beautiful, man. Really. But like, doesn't part of you want to just let loose? Go a little crazy? No, because we are sane beings who value our continued survival. Sure, but where's the fun in that? In continued survival. The human shrugged, undeterred by the shouting. Different strokes, I guess. Dr. Vexith was still scrolling through files, each new discovery apparently worse than the last. There's an entire field of human medicine dedicated to alcohol-related illnesses. Yep, Connor confirmed. Gastroenterology. Well, partly. You have specialists for the diseases caused by your recreational toxins. We have specialists for lots of things. Humans are complicated. You're insane. Little column A, little column B. Ambassador Kowalski checked her timepiece. Gentlemen, I hate to cut this short, but Connor has other appointments today. Is there anything else you need for his medical profile? Zakar looked at the incomplete file on his datapad. There were probably 1,000 more horrifying revelations waiting to be discovered. I suppose we have sufficient information for now. Great. Connor hopped off the examination platform. Hey, no hard feelings, right? I know this was probably weird for you. Weird. Zakar repeated numbly. Yes, weird. Tell you what, if you guys ever want to try it, I've got a bottle of pretty decent whiskey in my quarters. 12-year-old Scotch. We could do a cultural exchange thing. All 4 of Zakar's eye stalks recoiled in horror. You want to poison us? I mean, I wouldn't call it poisoning. Because that's what it is. Connor grinned. Sure, but it's friendly poisoning. There is no such thing. You're lost, Doc. Connor headed for the door, then paused. Oh, one more thing. Don't freak out when the next human comes in for their physical. Zakar felt a sense of dread. Why would I freak out? Well, Lieutenant Hoffman is covered in tattoos. You know, decorative skin scarring. Used needles to inject ink under his skin. Hundreds of times. Just FYI. What? But Connor was already gone, Kowalski following with an apologetic wave. The 2 doctors stood in silence for a long moment. Finally, Dr. Vexith spoke. I need to lie down. We're on duty, Zakar said automatically. I don't care. My species doesn't have anxiety as a medical condition, but I think I'm developing it specifically for humans. Zakar checked his datapad. You know what's really concerning? Please don't, Dr. Vexith said. I can't handle any more today. I've been reviewing the human medical literature. This toxin consumption behavior, it's not even in their top 10 most dangerous recreational activities. Silence. What's number 1? Dr. Vexith asked, her voice barely a whisper. Zakar checked his notes. Something called free solo climbing. They scale vertical rock faces without safety equipment. For fun. Why? It makes them feel alive, apparently. They're already alive. I know. Zakar slumped into his chair. In 300 years of practicing medicine, he'd never felt so utterly defeated. I'm putting in my retirement papers. You can't retire, Dr. Vexith said. We need you. Then I'm requesting a transfer. Any department. Anywhere that isn't human adjacent. There is nowhere, Dr. Vexith said quietly. Humans have representatives in every major station now. They're everywhere. It was true. In just 8 months, humanity had spread through the galaxy like a particularly cheerful plague. They were on every council, every station, every scientific expedition. Friendly, enthusiastic, helpful humans who had no sense of self-preservation whatsoever. Zakar pulled up the schedule. 23 more human physicals today alone. Do you think they're all like this? Dr. Vexith asked. I reviewed the preliminary data, Zakar said. If anything, Mr. Walsh was restrained in his recreational toxin consumption compared to the average. Oh, great. Zakar made a decision. We're going to need a bigger medical bay. And possibly therapy. Lots of therapy. Agreed. The door chimed. The next appointment was arriving. Do you think this one will be better? Dr. Vexith asked hopefully. The door opened, revealing a human woman covered head to toe in elaborate body modifications, with multiple metal studs pierced through her face and ears. Hi, she said brightly. I'm here for my physical. Oh, and heads up, I have a few piercings you might want to know about. And some scarification work. And I'm thinking about getting subdermal implants. Is that going to be a problem? All 4 of Zakar's eye stalks focused on the ceiling. Somewhere out there, The universe was laughing at him. No problem at all.